See that we got kittens and the dog can't get them? That's a smart cat. That's a cat that will survive. Unfortunately, that dog right there is a female, and she thinks...
She should be nursing her?
Yes, she thinks that she should be taking care of them. Oh, this has been entertaining. The kitten showed up Sunday, so yeah. All right, back to our project. But the dog's kind of a fun distraction. Today's Tuesday. Today's usually the normal release date for the long format for Farmer Unorthodox. And today we're actually working on Puff. We're just gonna do kind of a highlighted version of it real quick. Later in the week, there's gonna be a longer format video coming out. We're gonna talk about having Larry assemble this clutch pack. The one thing...
Brake pack.
I'll get it one day. Yeah, okay, so we will talk about assembling this brake pack here, because that basically took all day. Well, we actually got our planetary back from the machine shop, and we had a lot of time just fitting. If you hear a little squealing in the background, right in this rock box right here are brand new kittens. And yeah, I kind of figured today if we don't have a full-length video together, what can we just spend like a couple minutes talking about? And the one thing we have not talked about yet is why Puff was the way it was. When you've seen the complete whiteout, we knew something bad was happening, but what was really weird is like, it would blow horrible white blow body, and then it would stop, and it would actually act like a high hour, just 4840. And it wasn't until we tore it down that we really found out something that was pretty amazing. I saved these, and do you remember that?
Yeah, when we pulled it out, it was shrapnel falling out.
Yeah, it was like gravel or just like like rocks hitting the ground. So the engine's upside down in the splitting stand, and we're pounding the piston out. And then as soon as we got past this point where these rings and everything got outside the liner, I mean, it just was like, I don't even know how to explain it. Just like
pieces falling.
Yeah, or like BBs or marbles falling on the concrete. And ultimately, what was going on here, this is your piston, and actually this was the number 6 piston. And typically, these rings here are your sealing rings, and this is your compression. So in a normal motor...
On a good operating motor, you got your 3 sets of rings, or 3 rings on each set.
Now, is one of those specifically like an oil ring?
This bottom one is the oil ring, and the top two are compression rings.
Gotcha. And so a normal piston is gonna look like this. And when you take it out, so even like a high-hour engine that's starting to get naturally just a lot of blow-by, your compression is leaking past the rings, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And that's where on like if just a high-hour motor, that's where you're starting to get that white smoke.
Mm-hmm. Blow-by, it's blowing. The compression is trying to get in here, but the rings aren't holding it, so it's blowing right into crankcase, coming past and blowing right into crankcase.
In this case, when your sealing rings look like that, have you ever pulled one apart that actually was that crappy?
I've taken 2-piece pistons out.
2-piece? What do you mean?
Top is gone.
Really?
Top is sitting here, and the piston's going up and down.
So when it's a 2-piece piston, what happened?
It broke.
Okay.
Same thing, and then it just broke the head off.
Gotcha. So this one we caught before that. So we actually shut Puff down at a good time. Okay.
Caught it in time, yeah.
Got ya. But yeah, so you can see there's one piece here ready to fall out. So when it was upside down in the splitting stand, it was all these pieces like that just hitting the floor. And we knew we at least found our problem.
Mm-hmm. On these, there's an insert for where your piston rings ride, and it's a steel insert into the aluminum piston.
Okay.
And once that cracks too, that can do the same thing. I think that's the piece that you saw fall on the floor before.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just an insert that goes into piston.
Okay.
But, well, when your crosshatch pattern is gone, obviously you're going to get more blow-by. And you can still see the lines if you look with the light.
Yep.
And as I understand, if that's what makes those rings turn every time it comes up, you gotta...
Oh, really? Okay, that's the crosshatch actually does that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's actually interesting.
That's from what I've understood.
Okay. Huh. Kind of cool.
This you can still see. This was number 3?
This was number 3. Let me go grab number 6 once, the one that had that damage. Yep, there you can definitely tell. So there we have the straight up and down scuffing on the cylinder wall. And then, sure, there's no crosshatch in it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So this cylinder wall was actually number 3, the liner that had the new piston in it. So what we were thinking is someone put one new piston, one new liner in it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh, wow. So the other problem we noticed with Puff, and we later found out what was going on, but what we couldn't figure out is somewhere around the early 2000s on the crank bearing stamps, because all your crank bearings are actually going to have a date stamp on them. Originally somebody rebuilt this motor probably like the early 2000s. I can't remember the exact date, and unfortunately this was one day we didn't have any film on it, but I remember it was like 2000 or 2001, something like that. But then we had one piston, our number 3 piston, was actually newer, and
it has it's an aftermarket piston. It's got a totally different number than the original pistons have.
Different part number. And I remember on that connecting rod, the crank bearing was actually a different date too. So at some point, somebody tore it down, put one new piston in an existing sleeve, and said it was good enough. So ultimately, we knew Puff had a more worse problem that just was not gonna fix itself. And later on, when we got it back from the machine shop, we found out that the original Puff crank was bent. Remember that. Obviously, pistons liners were junk. But do you think the crank being bent is what caused this?
No.
What do you think caused this?
Just if the rings, as the engine is piston's going up and down, these rings are turning every revolution. These rings turn a little bit, or every time the piston goes up and down. Once a piston ring sticks, it can't turn anymore. So now you've got this open hole, and it's not turning. As it, every revolution, every time the piston goes up and down, it turns a little bit, just like that. And that's what keeps. Otherwise, you'd have a line at every ring end gap like this.
Got ya.
So one of these rings stuck.
And what causes a ring to stick?
Piece of carbon, or
Really?
or a chunk of the aluminum can break off.
So this might have just started out as just bad luck. Really? Okay. Gotcha. So ultimately, what we had going on is like what Larry was explaining. As the ring spun, eventually it would line up on like a hole like that.
Yep.
And that is when we would have nuclear whiteout or a Cheech and Chong style tractor. So, but that explains it then why all of a sudden the blow-by would go away, the rings would spin, seal it back up. Because I remember one time I had it in a stock chopper and I was going down the road and I finally thought the motor let go because it was just a complete whiteout underneath me. And that's what was always amazing to us is like, well, what's causing it to disappear? Like, why will it get better, then get worse, then get better again? But that makes sense, so I just do that. Huh.
That's why otherwise you'd have a line in the side of the, because you always have a ring end gap, 5/8 thousandths, whatever the ring end gap is. And you'd have that. If the ring didn't move, that would make a line in your liner.
Got ya.
That's why you don't see, when a ring sticks, that's when that'll happen, or if the land broke.
And it's just, if a ring sticks, it's just luck. Gotcha. Yeah, because I was asking Larry if this trail of oil right here, if this was just a sign that it was blown by there, and he said absolutely. So, but that ultimately is why Puff was called Puff. And we're still laughing about it, even as the dollar signs keep adding up. Later in the week, we are going to talk about the assembly of this. I just know all of these videos I've had somewhere between 6 to 8 hours in editing and putting them together, because believe me, it's a lot of work. But we're going to be talking about that. But today I just wanted to hurry up, get something out where we kind of reference Puff. And that was the one thing we had never talked about, is why Puff was called Puff. And just keep hoping the luck holds out and you don't stick, have a ring stick. All right, well, you ever just have one of those nights where you kind of lose your tail lights, you kind of lose some marker lights, and you don't know why. They worked when you left the yard, but then they're not working. And the only thing that makes me feel better, as unpredictable as this night has been, the facility I'm at, they're having one of those nights too, because whenever you see the red lights flashing on the building, you know it's not good, and they've been flashing a lot tonight. This video I was trying to originally get out today. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday morning. And yesterday got so chaotic. Tuesday's been kind of the release date for the long format of the last couple months, and this Tuesday just got so crazy. Hence 1 o'clock in the morning up here in southern Minneapolis. Can't tell. It's kind of funny because like the skyline, it doesn't. Once the sun goes down, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. Doesn't matter if it's 9 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's all about the same. But anyways, if this video is coming out later than expected, well, just believe me, I had one of those days that just never really quit. And unfortunately, I'm here instead of sitting in front of my computer editing this video. So whenever it comes out, it comes out. But all I want to say is thank you. If you've been digging this channel, we've been doing some stuff different the last couple weeks. And I know as we roll into spring, there's gonna be some times when it just gets like this, just chaotic. And that's the crazy thing with my life, is it gets unpredictable. But usually, like the last 2 weeks here, if I haven't had time to get long format, at least I've been doing a few more shorts. If you've been liking this channel, but if you ever notice that hey, the long format hasn't come out yet this week, so don't be afraid of scrolling over to the shorts, because even if the shorts are super easy to put together, and in a weird way, the short form videos have actually allowed us to kind of show some of the fun, crazy stuff that goes on, kind of catch the light humor of the shop. Earlier today, me and mechanic Larry were working on Puff, and a few things there didn't go as planned, but we're gonna highlight that, and then next week I'm gonna get a longer format out on what we were actually doing, and that is reassembling the B1, B2, C3 brake pack. I think I got it right that time, Larry. If not, you'll probably text me and let me know. But anyway, so if that's why you notice this is coming out late, believe me when I tell you I had a day that just went off the rails.